A team that's looked extremely healthy down in Starkville. That was LSU taking on Mississippi State. I was a little worried about this game, right? I was still sold on LSU being a contender, but I thought, you know what? It's an 11 a.m. kickoff. Zach Arnett normally has those guys defensively playing pretty well, but Jaden Daniels and Malik Neighbors, I mean, that dime that he threw right there, Harold Perkins being back, like, ooh, buddy, that got my heart pumping right there as an LSU fan.
You know what got my heart pumping was feeling like I felt like Saturday was vindication Saturday for me because a lot of the things that I had said in the preseason didn't look true for the first week or two, and they finally started to look true through week 3. Jaden Daniels was my number one quarterback heading into the season. He did not look great. Didn't look like he was on the same page with the receivers in that Florida State loss. But on Saturday, early on, he looked great, throwing the football, hooking up with Malik Neighbors, a guy that hadn't maybe hit his stride through the first couple weeks of the season, being able to use his legs to buy time. You called
this too, right? Like, I can't wait for the Cell Scout a little bit later because you nailed it. You said Malik Neighbors, the former Mississippi State commit, was going to show off, and he could have had 300 yards receiving if they wanted to.
That one of the more impressive first halves I've ever seen from a wide receiver with 10 catches for 180-something yards. But I thought the defense, too, the one dynamic that I thought was going to determine the outcome of this game was going to be Mississippi State's offensive line against LSU's defensive line. Finally, Mason Smith and Mekhi Wingo, those guys playing together. You talked about Perkins using him a little bit more the way we saw him last year.
It was beautiful. It was just everything
I
wanted it to be.
Woody Marks had that 152-yard run, but outside of that, there was nothing that they did on the ground. I felt bad for Will Rogers because he was forced to try to throw the football, play from behind. They don't have a whole lot of vertical threat in the passing game. Right now, it looks like the recipe for stopping them. Remember the old days, like everybody said, oh, you just drop eight against Mike Leach's air raid and you can beat those guys. Mm-hmm. Now the line of thinking defensively is stop the run. They can't beat you throwing the football, which is ironic.
You know what it feels like? Watching Will Rogers in this offense as they're trying to make this transition, it almost felt like whenever you would watch Georgia Tech or a triple option team trying to learn how to pass the ball after the first year.
Nebraska went from running the football into the West Coast offense with, was it Callahan?
I think when Callahan took over, you're like, no. You don't have the people to do that. So it is a work in progress, but monster win for LSU. Harold Perkins, Jaden Daniels, and now all of a sudden, do they look like the second best team in the SEC outside of Georgia? We'll discuss that.
Second best. I mean, there are people that can make an argument. Maybe they looked like the best team between what they did and the offensive side of the ball and the defense stepping up.
Number 3, LSU's lessons learned, right? One of the reasons why I wasn't quick to give up on LSU after week 1 was the same reason why going back to last year. It's like they found out what they could and could not do against Florida State. They're doing it again, right? A horrible second half against Florida State, and they look like a team, especially when they unleashed Harold Perkins. CD, I thought that was the biggest game changer.
Yeah, I mean, he's a game changer with the way that he rushes the quarterback. Having him in coverage is probably not the best usage of his skill sets.
They tried.
You have to you mix up what you're doing with him, but I think figuring out what you talked about with Alabama, what you have and how you can best put that player in a position to be successful is the coach's job. I also think what you saw in that Florida State game was the fact that the Seminoles are a pretty dang good team.
I agree.
You know, they struggled a little bit with Boston College, but I still think they're amongst the best 2 or 3 teams in the country. So losing to the Seminoles is not like you went out and dropped a game to some unranked opponent.
It's not like you barely beat South Florida. Is that what you're trying to say? I will say this, though.
Said it, I didn't.
I was impressed with Jaden Daniels because there had been like this small percentage, this vocal minority of people saying maybe it's time for Garrett Nussmeier. Shut the hell up. It's not. It's Jaden Daniels is your guy, and he showed that with one of the most historic performances in really not only LSU history, but SEC.
You know what? I thought Mississippi State helped him out defensively, playing really soft and allowed him to get in some rhythm throwing the ball. There was some quick throws that he was able to make that you start feeling his confidence getting going, and then he started hitting the double moves, some deep balls, got the legs rolling, and that's the complete game. Jaden Daniels being able to use the arms and the legs for the benefit of the offense is when you have him in his highest and best use. The Hogs' home collapse. Did you have a chance to watch their game against BYU?
I did, and I thought we saw that great catch, but at one point you thought, all right, I know the offensive line isn't great. I know there's no Rocket Sanders, but it looked like KJ Jefferson had done enough, but that defense just looked bad.
Well, it was also a detrimental interception that he threw in the fourth quarter that gave BYU the ability to come back. They're up by 10. After being up 14, they started the game with a long punt return. They get the long run by A.J. Green, then the long punt return. They're up 14-0. Let BYU back into the game, then build a 10-point lead at the end of the third quarter, only to give that up and let BYU go 17-0 down the stretch to leave with the win.
We have sayings in the South,
passion.
bless your heart. We also have a saying, let me tell you something. When somebody in the South says, let me tell you something, they are passionate. And rightfully so. Arkansas fans should be passionate about the fact of Sam Pittman was an offensive line coach. Yes, sir, we love Sam Pittman here on this show. But what he made Arkansas football at its bare minimum, regardless if it's Rocket Sanders or KJ Jefferson or any kind of wide receivers they have or Catalan back in the day or Bumper Pool, whatever, it was offensive line was always going to be dominant. That was always going to be the MO behind that team, and I don't see it. And I know the transfer portal hurts, injuries hurt, but my goodness, not to have an offensive line that's a difference maker right now is just a struggle.
Well, I mean, let's be honest, though. I mean, they outgained BYU 424 yards to 261 yards. They ran the ball for 177 yards, albeit, a lot of it coming on that long touchdown run by A.J. Green. But this team has been built under Sam Pittman as a team that runs the football well, that has offensive line play that's superior, and is built on a defense. We had Bumper Pool in here on Friday, the linebackers, and what that run of whether it was
Drew Morgan and
Hurst or not Hurst, Henry or Grant Morgan or those guys, like it just they're missing something right now that hasn't been there in a bit.
And buddy, it ain't going to get easier. If BYU is able to light you up, guess what? You have the sixth best offense in the country.
We
right
have the
now
schedule
of LSU coming up next week.
I want to see that Arkansas stretch. Yeah, the Arkansas schedule that Eddie was talking about. They year in and year out play one of the tougher schedules in the country, but it is weird having this LSU game take place in September too, isn't it, PB?
Normally it's right around the holidays in late November, but you see it early.
That is a brutal run.
LSU ripping. A&M's offense has gotten a lot better. Ole Miss, I mean, sadly, the best chance or the least scary offense that you're going to face over the next month might be Alabama. Is that crazy to think? Is LSU have a better offense than Alabama?
Yes, way better.
A&M have a better offense?
Way better.
Ole Miss have a better offense?
So that's what I'm saying. Mississippi State may have a worse offense than Alabama does.
I don't disagree with that. But in the next 4 games.
That's 5 straight successive weeks against some really tough opponents there, man.
You got me fired up right now, and I'm fired up about the LSU Tigers. I told everybody that, listen, calm down, relax, chill, okay? Everybody wanted to leave them for dead, that they were going to have a 3-win season after they got destroyed by FSU in that second half. And I said, I actually felt better about the LSU Tigers through 2 weeks of the season this year than I felt last year. Well, guess what? They looked good against Grambling. I understand. It was Grambling. But what did they do? They went into a hostile environment in Davis Wade Stadium, and they absolutely punked Mississippi State. Jaden Daniels looked like a Heisman Trophy contender. Malik Neighbors, like you said, Chris Dorian was going to have a monster day, and he did. And by God, they let Harold Perkins play and go get the football, and he was unbelievable in disrupting Will Rogers in that offense. I still have faith in the LSU Tigers. I think they're the second best team in the SEC.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. It was good to see them reassert themselves. I think both of you and I were high on them in the offseason.
You mentioned Arkansas for a second. I didn't hear warm words for Sam Pittman's future.
I mean, I love him, Paul, but what are we doing here? We're losing to BYU at home. Last year we lost to Liberty at home, and we were supposed to be an improved team heading into this gauntlet. They're about to head into a gauntlet here, Paul. Again, they're going to LSU night game here on Saturday. That all of a sudden that looks like a must win, and after looking foolish like I tend to do from time to time, LSU looked awful in the opener. It appears they have turned it around, and I think they'll be of the caliber I anticipated. So I think LSU probably creams them again. A&M, that's a big one for Arkansas. I don't see many wins on this schedule if they cannot beat BYU at home, and it's Pittman's baby. Unfortunately, it's that offensive line because they've got all the other pieces. The defense looks a lot better. I have a ton of respect for KJ Jefferson. Rocket Sanders he's been MIA, but they've got pieces. But it's the offensive line. You just can't win in this league without an offensive line. And I thought that's what was Pittman's specialty. I'm just not seeing it.
You get a little concerned when you play a lot of true freshmen. Certainly in the back end of your defense. Ryan Yates came in and played really well. He was clean. He was disciplined in his alignments. He was assignment correct. But, you got 3 true freshmen on the field. On the road in the SEC, I don't think you're running around going, oh, this is great. But we had confidence in them that they could go out and play well. I think what it shows more than anything else, and Coach and I were talking about this, Coach House, is that we have more than 11, and we need to play them more. It's kind of like what we talked about the week before with Guillory and certainly Jefferson at the tackle position. They didn't play enough the week before. They played much more, and you can see how that helps our rotation at the defensive line. I think you'll see now that we can play a lot more at the linebacker position and the safety position. Well, I think fundamentally, a lot of the things that we talk about are, keeping the ball in, leverage the defense, keeping the ball inside the pocket, making quarterbacks earn it instead of, giving up, easy, rush lanes. All those things that are the fundamentals of playing good defense. We weren't on point early on. We were much better on Saturday. When we leveraged the ball, when we held the point, when we did our job, we made it very difficult for Mississippi State. We're going to look to do the same. Yeah, that's the challenge, right? We're going to play 4 more SEC opponents. We need all hands on deck. We've got to be able to play with the same kind of competitive edge, the same kind of preparation. This is the grind of it now, right? This is where you get into your process and making sure that everybody has an understanding of doing the little things the right way every single day. We're off and running now. This is the good stuff for coaches. Players, maybe not so much. They want to get to Saturday, but we got to keep them focused on every single day.
All right, now this is one of my favorite runs right here, just because what we call this is just a zone stretch read. The best thing to me that's so important about it is that KJ Jefferson, normally you're reading off of the end man of the line of scrimmage, which would be him, number 13. But right here, when we do the stretch zone, you're actually reading off of this free defensive lineman right here in the middle, which is right here. And I just love this play because they're so not used to being in that position. They never just stay or slow play it. They just make it an easy read. They always take the cheese. Whenever you involve an inside element on the read, Cole, it's so much easier because they just want to make the play.
Oh, they're just coming full head of steam.
And
trying to knock somebody out.
Boom. And then I get KJ Jefferson, come on, break a tackle, looking like Cam, and get up the field. Nah, this all right. Save it for next time. I know Cole wants you to try and run this guy over.
4.79.
4.79.
He was moving.
Okay, 4.79.
Like
all right, we're getting faster at quarterback over here in the SEC. Now, here's my last one right here. In Jaden Daniels, this is the most frustrating play if you're a defense right here, Cole. Stop it right here. It's 3rd and 13. 3rd and 13. As a coordinator, in my mind, I got the perfect defense. I'm good. All right, I'm going to have a hole player right here. We're going to continue to rush the pocket. We're going to contain right here. We're going to have a little squash rush. Everything's going to just work out perfectly. And then all of a sudden, you got a quarterback like Jaden Daniels that steps back. Number one, you cannot get behind the quarterback. All right, if you're this DN, you can't get behind. If you do, you got to retrace. Be ready to get back up underneath, because once you do that, now it's a cat and mouse game. And the only way you win the cat and mouse game is you got to keep the mouse in the house. Once the mouse gets out, now we in trouble. Look at this. My whole, whoa, slow down, peoples. My whole spy man right here in the middle, he's feeling good about himself early. And then all of a sudden, Jaden Daniels turns on the heat and says, no, I'm out of here. Outrunning all the angles. Next thing you know, it's a first down on 3rd and 13. As a coordinator, you're beyond frustrated. I didn't blitz. I played coverage. I tried to do some other things. And I got a spy player and everything, and it still doesn't work. That was the most frustrating part as a defense, when you'd have the best defense call and they still out-executed because of the running quarterback situation.
This is from Wally Hall. Bandwagon hoppers, be ready to work out. We'll get to the meaning of that. There was a time not long ago that all was cool in the land of Thousand Lakes and Sam Pittman, but an ugly BYU loss may have changed some of that. The guy that had more goodwill 2 years ago than almost anyone in the coaching world had a disappointing season. We heard a lot of promise that things would be different. And we say hello with all that good tidings and cheer to Wally Hall, the Pauly positive of the state of Arkansas. Wally, great to talk to you again. Thank you for being here.
Thank you, Paul. Thank you for asking me.
Why do I have a feeling, maybe it's based on a call we've already had from Arkansas, that the fan base is very uptight right now with a murderous row of games straight ahead?
Yeah, I would say that is a very fair thing to say. There's seems to be some concern about play calling and just basic fundamental things that are breaking down on the field right in front of people. So there's some concern.
As I look at the schedule, I felt BYU, not me, everyone felt BYU was a critically important game, Wally, for the very reason that there is LSU, A&M, Ole Miss, and Alabama. I'll repeat again. LSU, A&M, Ole Miss, and Alabama. That's 4 games, right? Yeah. BYU, I mean, call me crazy, but is it more likely or less likely that that Arkansas has a 5-game losing streak hosting Mississippi State, or wins 2 or 3 of these games?
Well, if you were handicapping it like it was a horse race and you were looking at past performances, you'd have to think that you wouldn't be betting on Arkansas to win these games. They barely beat an FCS opponent. They barely beat Kent State. They struggled with Kent State. They beat them, and then they gave up 17 unanswered points in the second half to lose to a decent BYU team. But we're not talking about a team that's going to win the Big 12.
Yeah, we're not talking Jim McMahon here.
No.
So, and again, I'm not saying they lose these games. I'm not saying Arkansas loses all 5, but it just has I just have a bad feeling about this stretch, Wally. And in terms of injuries, what's the situation with Rocket Sanders, and what about the health of the team as they face this gauntlet?
Well, I don't think Sanders. He went through some drills yesterday, but not contact. So I'd be surprised if he's back. Until they fix some things with the offensive line, though, Paul, I don't think it's going to matter. They've got 3 new guys in there. A couple of them are really young, inexperienced, and they've got to learn their very first move is to not stand straight up, because you lose all leverage when you do that. And so these are kids that maybe at their size in high school could stand straight up and overpower some 210-pound defensive end or 215-pound tackle. But now you're especially starting this Saturday, you're playing with the big boys, and you've got to be fundamentally correct every second of every play.
So as we look ahead here, I don't know what your expectations were before the season, but what were they and what are they now?
Well, I optimistically picked 7-5. That would have been an improvement over last year when they went 6-6. Although they did win a bowl game. Right now, I think I'd be really lucky to finish 7-5. I wouldn't be betting on my picks right now. I'm not going to run to the casino and start laying down a bunch of money that Wally Hall was right.
So, Wally, if we see a 7-5 or a 6-6 or even worse, what does this portend for Arkansas's future under Sam Pittman?
Okay, what I want to share with you is just my opinion, and I have no sources on this. I think he would be good for at least another year with no pressures. The pressure would start next year if they didn't show improvement. When this job came open and they hired Sam, they interviewed a bunch of people. There were 3 coaches that wanted it, who were willing to take it, or 3 people. First was Deion Sanders, who at that point had 0 college experience, and no big school was going to take a chance on him. He's proven, though, that he can bring some excitement to a program, maybe a lot of wins. But at that point, he had no experience in college. The other was the coach at Tulane, who's, I can say this because I'm older than he is. He's an older gentleman, and and the third was Sam. And when they interviewed Sam, and he didn't ask how much does the job pay, the deal they did a handshake and a contract within 30 minutes. And I think Sam is really, really popular with the majority of the fans, but they want to see things. When you go for it on 4th down and 1 from your own 50 and you're up 10 points in the third quarter, they want you to run a play where you make that first down, and it's not going to be a handoff out of the shotgun. It's going to be the biggest, toughest quarterback to tackle in the whole country lining up under center. Your center getting a half a yard and him getting the other half.
Wally, you mentioned Deion Sanders, and right now we live in his world, at least for another week or two. But was there even a remote chance that the job would have gone to him, or was that just something that it was just too soon for the administration and Hunter Yurachek?
Well, I really think it was a courtesy interview for Jerry Jones, who donates a lot of money to the University of Arkansas, and he and Deion are friends. And we know their plane landed somewhere near his ranch in Texas, and they had to rent a car and drive an hour to get to his ranch. And from all things I've heard, the interview was awesome. He blew them away with everything but experience, which he had none.
And we're going back, 3 years now?
This is Sam's 4th season.
4 years, okay. So, Deion spent a couple of years at Jackson State. This is obviously his first year at Colorado. I mean, I'm not making a big deal about this because I understand exactly what you're saying, but we all live in this world now where everything connected to Deion Sanders is mouth-watering.
Until this Saturday.
True. But I had not heard this before, so this is very, very interesting to hear.
And I will tell you, they were impressed with him. I mean, his enthusiasm, his knowledge, but if you've never recruited, you've never sat in a team meeting for college coaches, broke down film in the college game, it would just be hard to take that chance. I can't think of a major program that would have done it either. But then again, the job has not been that attractive. After Chad Morris, it was a dumpster fire. Back-to-back, no wins in the conference. So there weren't people lining up saying, hey, give me that challenge. I want that. I want to come to a state that turns out 7 or 8 D1 recruits a year.
No, that's amazing. Well, Wally, I think everyone is hoping this thing gets figured out because of what Sam Pittman represents. You understand it, being a veteran of countless years in that state, and you've seen the ups and the downs. What do you think, if anything, that he's going to have to do? I mean, is it something that he needs to tweak? Is it something? I mean, he's already trying that. I mean, he made some pretty big changes in the offseason. What do you think he needs to do?
I think it might help if they started using some of last year's offense that Bryles ran, because KJ was much more comfortable in it because he had 3 years in it. And so the stuff they're doing now, he doesn't look as comfortable. So maybe you go back and start running some of the plays from last year and the year before that he's comfortable with, because he's your key. He's the key to everything on that offense.
The great Wally Hall joining us from Arkansas. Many, many thanks, Wally. We appreciate it. I hope to see you soon.
Thank you. Have a great week.
You're great. Wally Hall, and I'm sure I missed it 4 years ago when this was going on. It was in the middle of COVID, I believe, right after COVID, perhaps, but or right before COVID. I can't remember. I think it was right before COVID. But anyway, how about that story? Jerry Jones facilitating an interview with Deion Sanders and Hunter Yurachek. And they looked at a couple of candidates and ended up with Sam Pittman.
LSU looks to stay atop the SEC West after doing exactly what you'd expect a Tiger to do to a Bulldog last week in Stark Vegas. With Jaden Daniels and Malik Neighbors bringing back visions of Burrow and Chase on the Bayou, Adams' Piggies couldn't quite keep up with Keaton Slovis and BYU in an entertaining game in Week 3. Now they head to Death Valley.
Tiger versus Piggy.
How about this one? A little earlier than usual, the battle for the Golden Boot, Arkansas, LSU. Let's go to some of the classics here, shall we? Back 21 years ago, remember Matt Jones? He fouled to Corey Birmingham in the end zone with 9 seconds left to take down the Tigers 21-20, and that locked up the SEC West with that win. 2007, the Tigers went in as number 1 and left with its second triple overtime loss of the season. Darren McFadden went for 206 and 3 scores. For Les Miles said they were undefeated in regulation that season. That wasn't a lie. All right, 2008, big touchdown pass. Casey Dick, 24 yards to London Crawford with 22 seconds left, and the Hogs win it. 2011, showdown of top 3 teams. LSU went down 14-zip, but stormed back to win 41-17, and a run was sparked by Tyrann Matthews, 92-yard punt return touchdown. 2013, the Hogs led LSU by 6 going into the 4th, but Anthony Jennings' 49-yard touchdown pass with 1:15 to go put LSU ahead for good. And finally, in 21, another overtime game for the Boot. The Hogs snapped that 5-game skid against LSU with a 16-13 win. Both head coaches on the matchup as we go inside the SEC, presented by Auto Owners Insurance.
Get a chance now to play another SEC opponent in Arkansas. I think we all know about this game. It is a hard-fought, physical game. Each and every year, I think the last 3 years have been decided by a total of something like 9 points, I think. It's a rivalry trophy, battle for the boot, annual trophy between the two schools that started back in the mid-'90s. So I know our guys understand who they're playing and the tough games that we've had with them, including last year. So they'll be prepared for that.
3 times, and there's 3 points between the last 3 games. You know, we lost by 3, won by 3, lost by 3. And we'll be ready to play. I know they will be too, but losing wasn't a wake-up call for us. I mean, that's not – we would have learned if we would have won from too many penalties and all that kind of stuff. But it is LSU and it's SEC play. I'm sure they'll be ready.
They'll be ready. I mean, they were ready in Starkville. They'll be ready at home, it seems, for Arkansas as well. What intrigues you the most, Stinch, when you look at this matchup?
It's top 2 quarterbacks in the conference going head-to-head. Coming into the season, there's a lot of new faces at the quarterback position. These 2 teams had known commodities. Obviously, different way to start the season. Jaden Daniels coming in there. Didn't play his best football in Week 1 versus one of the better teams in the country in FSU. Boy, have they reasserted themselves now that they've played, especially in conference play. 84% completion percentage. That's tough to do in 7-on-7. It's tough to do in pat and go. The guy completed all of them, and they had a defense trying to make it hard on you. Offense was clicking. He looked comfortable, and that was the offense and the quarterback that I think we anticipated seeing coming into the season, and the chemistry that he's established with Neighbors. KJ Jefferson hasn't really been afforded that opportunity, and part of that's a function of the offense has had to center on him. No Rocket Sanders, I think, has really impeded some of their offensive progress. That, and they got to find a way to keep him cleaner longer, play cleaner football. Coach Pittman was talking about too many penalties, drive-killing penalties, cost them last week versus BYU. They can't have that versus LSU.
Yeah, the penalties, and then you also just look at the lack of production when it comes to rushing the football, averaging 151 yards rushing. Last year, they were averaging 237 yards rushing the ball. So you lose Rocket Sanders. Now they seem a little bit in disarray, especially on the offensive side. The lack of not being able to get into a rhythm because of the penalties, that's huge. Now, the positive that when you look at Arkansas on the defensive side, they lead the SEC in turnover margin, +5. So whenever you can turn the football over, you're giving you more opportunities to your offense, but also it gives them belief that, hey, and also me belief, this could be a different Arkansas defensive team this year. especially because last year they played well against LSU.
Yeah, they got to be sick though the way the BYU game went.
Oh my gosh!
Multiple double-digit leads they got away from.
You got those drives. You're giving up 3rd and longs. That's the other piece of it too, defensively, especially for Arkansas. Is when you get LSU in that 3rd and long, you got to get them off the field. Right. You can't allow them to convert. It killed the Hogs last week. Those are those opportunities, especially versus an offense that seems to be kind of getting up on plane now in LSU, where if you can get them behind the sticks on those early downs, all defenses talk about it. We want to win 1st and 2nd down. Now you have to find a way to win that 3rd down. They didn't do it last week. They can't allow LSU to refresh those downs and get another crack at your end zone.
And then you look at Jaden Daniels. You go back to the Grambling game and you see like, oh, okay, that's what you're supposed to do anyway. I really think he took another step into becoming that guy. He was him that day. It carried over when they played against Mississippi State last week. And now let's see, can he do it again, knowing that Arkansas struggled to hold down the lead on the defensive side last week.
One of 5 conference games, Arkansas visiting LSU. All right,
Alex, let me get to another story that you have written about recently, and that's the situation with Greg Brooks, the safety at LSU, who underwent surgery to remove a brain tumor. I mean, this is a very serious situation. What do we know about this right now?
Yeah, it's really scary, and the details so far are thin. But what we know right now is that he was having, prior to this last week or two, some vertigo issues. They didn't really know what it was. Well, that cropped up again. I think Brian Kelly said, if I remember right, it was on Wednesday, that he was experiencing dizziness again. They said, something's wrong here. Let's get this checked out. They do the MRI, and they find a brain tumor and quickly do what you have to do in that situation, which is take care of it. The statement from the family says that it is a successful surgery. That said, they still need to get results from the biopsy back. Whether Greg plays again this season or not, I think that's still to be determined. I think even Brian Kelly says he doesn't know. He's not claiming to be a medical expert. But he did say that Greg told him that's his plan before he went in, that he was going to play again. But is that Greg being confident and being a young athlete who thinks he's invincible, and you want everybody to believe that you can turn around quickly? But his health is obviously the most important thing in this scenario. Very scary thing, but hopefully the fact that they connected the dots with that dizziness, got the MRI, figured out what was going on there, that they got to it in a quick manner that hopefully will help him long term. Very scary situation for them, for a player who really, after transferring in from Arkansas, a Louisiana kid coming home last year, really helped that secondary, which could have been really in a bad spot last year. Played really well. Could have given them a lot of experience on the back end that they could use this season. But again, first and foremost, you just hope the kid gets healthy and comes back whenever he's fully ready for it.
It would knock them out of a lot of things. This is what the indicator. An Alabama loss would give Alabama only a 16% chance of winning the SEC West. If Alabama wins, they're in good shape. Jaden Daniels is looking good. Many thought he was the best QB in the SEC coming into the season. He's holding up his part of the bargain. That was last week against Mississippi State. A lot of attention on Baton Rouge Saturday night as Jaden Daniels reemerges as one of the top QBs in the country. The Tigers host Arkansas in a primetime game. And joining us now, Scott Rabelais from The Advocate. Scott, thanks so much for the time. So much to deal with, but first I do want to ask you about Greg Brooks and what a harrowing week it has been for him, his family, and the entire community down there. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Paul. Yeah, it's you've kind of figured when they couldn't say much about why he didn't play at Mississippi State, it was a serious kind of medical situation. The family released that statement yesterday morning saying he had a brain tumor. He'd been suffering some dizziness and vertigo, and they took him in for an MRI, and he had surgery on Friday, and waiting the results of that. You know what happened, how's that tumor look, but. Obviously, a very serious situation for the young man, and he's recovering. He's hoping to play. I know I saw Ryan Clark visited him in the hospital, and he's hoping to get back out there this season. I don't know how realistic that is, but obviously that's not the most important thing. It's his health and that he gets back to living a normal life as soon as possible.
Well, it's good to hear that finally the right people are dealing with it, and that is beyond serious. That is scary. Well, Scott, I hate to transition to something as mundane as a Saturday night in Tiger Stadium. It seems mundane, but it is a big game, clearly, for LSU coming off of its most impressive win of the season. First, what was that the same team Saturday morning in Starkville that we saw opening the season down in Florida?
Yeah, I know it was. It was different. Obviously, I think there was a little hubris involved for LSU going to that Florida State game. I don't know if they took Florida State lightly, but they certainly thought a lot of themselves. And they got smacked around in the second half, and it was embarrassing. And I think it led to a reset for LSU, refocusing. They came back and played Grambling, which, is kind of just like a scrimmage, basically, and played well. But you got to go on the road against a state team that is not expected to finish near the top of the SEC West, but a dangerous game with a veteran quarterback on the road, and in an early game that LSU hasn't always played well in, those pre-noon Central Time start times, and they just came out from the jump and just played really great and emerged as a team that you could say, as I know you've probably said, they're the team to beat again in the SEC West. Obviously, a lot of tests to come, starting with this week against Arkansas at home, but then you go to Ole Miss and Missouri back to back. Those are really huge games, especially next week. But I think they've found a little something to in terms of intensity and focus to match their ability that maybe was missing from the Florida State game.
We're chatting with Scott Rabelais about the LSU Tigers. Scott, winning on the road is important. The Arkansas game, it's hard to really come up with an angle to this game from the LSU side other than maintaining. For Arkansas, it seems a little bit more urgent. Just your thoughts on the Razorbacks coming in here after just throwing a game away at home.
Yeah, I mean, obviously you could look at it and say they're going to be upset like LSU was after losing to Florida State. But not a team maybe at their best. Is Rocket Sanders going to play? Is he? It sounds like he's got a chance, but he's at least questionable for the game. They've got some offensive line issues. They have another savvy veteran quarterback, like there are a lot of in the SEC, KJ Jefferson, that poses some problems. And look, Arkansas has been. This has been a very close game. Since the last 3 years, it's been decided by 3 points each time, one way or another. So this has been a very close game, and LSU should expect a tough fight. But frankly, Paul, if Arkansas had a tough time, they've given up 38 points at home to BYU. I think if LSU plays anything close to the way they played offensively at State, and without Mason Taylor, the tight end, and tight end is a big part of their offensive weaponry. He should be back this week. I think they're going to have a very hard time slowing LSU down.
Scott, I realize your focus has been on LSU, but you can't be either an LSU fan or somebody covering LSU without looking around the SEC trying to figure out who will the Tigers have to deal with. And I would think there would be a pretty good place to learn this weekend, and that would be 2:30 in Tuscaloosa with the two biggest competitors, probably Ole Miss and Alabama, with Ole Miss next week for LSU. What do you make out of both of these programs and this game?
Yeah, first of all, I would say for the perspective of LSU fans, they're really torn. I think they always want to see Alabama lose, but you don't want to see Ole Miss look too great the week before you have to go to Oxford either, right? You're like, oh, that's going to be pretty scary if they go into Tuscaloosa and win. But, Alabama still looks like the champ. Obviously, they didn't win the division last year. LSU beat them and went to Atlanta. But they still kind of look like the champion in the ring, and the gloves are kind of down. I mean, it looks like the champ is vulnerable to a hit to the chin, right, to a right cross. And this is Ole Miss's chance. I mean, if they've ever had a chance, last year that there's division play, they've never won the SEC West. They've never been to the SEC championship game, and this is their chance. I mean, it doesn't get more defined for Ole Miss. Back-to-back weeks against Alabama and LSU, the two teams you've got to go through, and these look like the top three contenders in the West. Obviously, you could throw Texas A&M in there probably because their loss, like LSU's, was a non-conference loss to an ACC team. So they're kind of in the same boat as well. But this looks like the teams that have to be the ones that are going to be one of them is going to shake out and be that team. So Alabama, they just look very vulnerable. And I thought Michael Casagrande, who covers Alabama for AL.com, said it best. The Texas loss was bad, but the win over South Florida was probably worse in some respects. And I think it's very true. And for Ole Miss, it's like the pressure is, if not now, when? When is your shot? Because it's not going to get easier to make it to Atlanta. When you expand to 16 teams and you have to fight through and be the top two teams in the standings, however that shakes out. So very fascinating game on Saturday. And obviously one that LSU, I can promise you, every tailgate party on LSU's campus Saturday fall will have that game on it before people head to the stadium.
So if you're walking around Tiger Stadium, and I know you will be checking out those tailgate parties, is it your best guess that Tiger fans are going to be pulling for Ole Miss, heaven forbid?
Yeah, I mean, they just want to see the Dragons. I think maybe it's hard for people elsewhere to realize, obviously Nick Saban, went here. I think it's some revisionist history with LSU fans a little bit. He left LSU. I think some people kind of remember it like he left LSU for Alabama. And, of course, he did not. He left the LSU for the Miami Dolphins, which everyone kind of figured, well, he's probably going to the NFL one day. Stayed there 2 seasons. LSU had a coach then in Les Miles. The Alabama job opened up, and he went there and made their lives miserable for a decade and a half. And so, I think there's much more animosity to them. Ole Miss is a school that's a rival and a big rival to LSU. But as a school, you still feel like you're going to beat, if you're LSU, at least 2 out of every 3, something like that. Alabama is still the dragon that has to be slayed. And if someone else helps you slay it, then all the better, I think, from an LSU perspective.
Especially if you're doing the SEC West math for the final season. Alabama loses, then LSU heads to Ole Miss and beats Ole Miss. Then certainly the division looks within easy grasp, not easy, but manageable grasp at that point.
Absolutely. If you work out the standings and the tiebreakers and that sort of thing, it would be advantage to LSU if they can hold serve in these next few games.
Great stuff from Scott Rabelais in Baton Rouge. The Tigers hosting Arkansas Saturday night, and then trek on up to Oxford. Pretty wild couple of weeks here in the West.
Next game here on opening drive as we continue to roll on. And can you believe that LSU is a 17-point favorite according to the odds makers?
You know this history of this rivalry better than I do, but it always seems like Arkansas plays LSU tight. Remember last year, 13-10 in a game in Fayetteville. That
beat them 2 years ago down in Baton Rouge with KJ Jefferson playing in that game.
And this is weird because typically we see this game in November, and to have it being played in September doesn't feel quite right, does it?
What feels more foreign? The fact that this game is played this early in the season when it's traditionally kind of late November, or the fact that Arkansas does not have an offensive line behind Sam Pittman, who has cut his teeth on offensive line prowess over the last, decade in this matchup? Because it doesn't feel like this is the Arkansas team that we've seen in years past.
Yeah, I mean, think about what we've come to expect from Sam Pittman coached Arkansas teams. Offensive line, the ability to run the football consistently, great linebacker play. I mean, we had Bumper Pool in last week and just the leadership on that side of the ball. I think one of the big questions that I have is in the secondary. And, coming into the season last year, they were one of the worst in pass defense in the country. Looked like they were better. They've had a couple defensive scores this year. But this is going to be another level of a test, especially after seeing the rhythm that was developed between Jaden Daniels and his receivers last week. We'll see whether or not that this Arkansas defense has improved from where they were last season.
Probably, more than likely, no Rocket Sanders again this week. Sam Pittman said, look, he's back, at practice, but not necessarily participating, doing a whole heck of a lot that they would make sure that he's ready for this game. Remember, this was the Harold Perkins come out welcoming party last year, and he was fantastic. each and every week they've dialed up more pressure for Harold Perkins. I thought it was a difference maker against Mississippi State. And if this is a situation where the offensive line's not really good, LSU's defensive line has been fantastic, especially now with Perkins kind of added to the mix and not playing linebacker. That spells a whole lot of trouble for KJ Jefferson.
I'm glad you mentioned KJ Jefferson, because without Rocket Sanders, because without the defense doing their thing, without having the offensive line, I wonder if he started to press a little too much. We've seen times in his starting career at Arkansas where he's tried to do too much. Remember that Texas A&M game, I believe it was last year, where they're down inside the 5-yard line. He tries to extend the ball, it gets knocked out, and the scoop and score the other way. Last week against BYU, forces one over the middle that gets intercepted and kind of was the turning point in that fourth quarter. So KJ has to understand that he doesn't have to do it himself. But I do understand.
But I think he kind of has to this week. I think he kind of has to, because I think LSU. We're not giving, I don't think, LSU enough credit for offensively for how good that they've been since, I would say, probably game 3 of last year and all the way into this year.
Yeah,
Mike Denbrock and Jaden Daniels got this offense flowing right.
They weren't great against FSU, but I think a lot of that had to do with the FSU defense and the quality of that side of the ball. But you're right. I mean, the game that stood out to me last year was the Florida game, and Jaden Daniels' ability on third down. They completed a ridiculous number of third down conversions, most of them long. And I felt like there you saw the passing game kind of take off, and that's one of the things I was expecting this year that we didn't see against Florida State that we saw last week was the rhythm and the chemistry and the continuity between he and his receivers, which I think are one of the better groups in the conference when they're playing their game, when they're not dropping balls like they did against Florida State. You mentioned Jaden Daniels. Coming into the season, he was one of my favorite in the league this year. Didn't look like him against Florida State, but got it going last week against the folks down in Starkville. What do you make of your alma mater at this point after watching them kind of play the way they did in the opener against the Seminoles and then the way they played last week in Starkville? Is this a team you think that's capable of winning the league and potentially being a college football playoff team?
Yeah, I think they're capable. They got to have a couple. Number one, they got to stay healthy because I don't think the depth is there yet all around. I think the two best position groups on the team are where they should be, which is offensive line and defense. Really good. The quarterback is pushed the football down the field. Two things they got to do for me. They got to be able to run the football when they want to run it. Mm-hmm. Now, that doesn't mean they got to throw 30 passes and 30 runs, but they need to be able to run the football when they want to run it. And my biggest question for LSU is this, is that when they go against top-notch receivers, can they cover downfield? Okay, because Keon Coleman lit them up in game 1. Although they didn't face a great receiver against Mississippi State, there are great receivers that are going to come, guys that can make plays. And so can the LSU secondary, when they have to play man coverage, can they do it? Because I think the weakest part of the LSU's team, and it sounds crazy, man, because we've been known for cornerbacks, but I think our corners are probably the weakest part of the team. So, yeah, they're capable of winning the championship, no doubt about it, because they have a dynamic quarterback and they have a really good offensive line, and the defensive line, I think that's top 5 or 6 in the country. But they got to be able to play the game a certain way, see.
Yeah, and it might be Trey Harris next week when LSU goes into Oxford, and we'll see if he's 100% healthy in that matchup. Another game that we're going to be talking about over here is LSU and Arkansas. Woo, pig! Yes, sir. Looking forward to this one.
Where does this rivalry? You're an LSU guy. Where does Arkansas, LSU, what is it?
The battle for the boot.
Yeah.
David Basil put it together. The 9,000-pound battle of the boot.
It's a heavy trophy, right? Where does this rank on LSU's list of rivals?
I don't know if it's as big as, frankly,
is it as big as
Alabama?
Is it as big as Ole Miss?
Yeah, I'd put it right there.
Is it as big as Florida?
Ole Miss. I mean, personally, LSU Florida is bigger than this. LSU has like these rotating, revolving,
depending on how
even
good a team is
right now. Yeah, it's just more kind of a fluid rivalry situation. But LSU fans, including myself, are still upset about what happened in 2007. LSU won the national championship in 2007. They're still pissed off that they lost in triple overtime in that game to Felix Jones and Darren McFadden and Peyton Hillis.
I told Jacob Hester that they're the worst national champion of all times. 2 lost national champion. You kidding me?
Okay. I see you baiting me here, and I'm not going to take the bait. What I will say this is LSU fans are hyper focus and hyper hyped for this game because it's back in Baton Rouge. You're coming off looking as good as you have maybe in since 2019 in that game against Mississippi State. Harold Perkins is back rushing the quarterback. You look at Jaden Daniels and that 1-2 punch with him and Neighbors. Like, there are good vibes, especially because Arkansas's offensive line does not look like the offensive lines we would come to expect that Sam Pittman to have in Fayetteville.
You know what I think I find funny heading into week 4 is that we knew things in the offseason that we were pretty sure we knew about, and then we saw things happen in week 1 that surprised us.
Yeah.
And now we're getting back. We're ready to extend the trust again. Like this week, I find myself trusting LSU again. I picked them to win the West after that game against Florida State. I was out. Now I'm back in.
All right, not with LSU fans. Daniel's date with destiny.
I like it. See, I criticized you a couple weeks ago for not putting more time in. You used alliteration, which I like here.
Thank you. Does that start with an A or an I? I can't remember.
Alliteration.
The reason why I picked this one is because you go back and look at what Jaden Daniels has done. Yes, the FSU game wasn't great, but now that they have kind of figured it out, I don't understand week 2 was against Grambling, but he still put up the numbers. What he did on the road in Starkville with Malik Neighbors was nothing short of fantastic. One of the most efficient quarterback performances we had ever seen. I still think they have a whole lot of success against Arkansas, which leads them going into next week on the road in Oxford. He continues to have these type games. You're going to talk about that date with destiny, about getting an invite to New York City for the Heisman. Do I think he can win it? It's still up for grabs. I think this is a monster weekend. I see over 300 yards again for Daniels against Arkansas coming up this week.
I think he can win it because the guy has the ability to do it with his arms and his legs. And I hate FCS games. I hate playing some of these overmatched opponents, but if you go back in week 2, I thought there were some big wins that helped get teams back on track.
Yeah.
LSU playing against Grambling, as you mentioned. South Carolina playing against Furman, what they were able to do, correct some mistakes on the line.
Games.
Florida playing McNeese to get right after that Utah loss. So as much as I have disdain for those types of games in the middle of your season, I can see why coaches want to play them sometimes.
Yeah, let's head down to Baton Rouge right now, prime time tomorrow on the Bayou. Holly Rowe, of course, will be on the sideline. Holly, thanks as always. Great to have you with us, and let's get ready for yet another SEC showdown. You were in Gainesville last week, and I'll go back to that in a second, but what are you learning about this big game tomorrow between Arkansas and LSU?
Yeah, there's a unique storyline in this game between Arkansas and LSU this week because Greg Brooks is a young man that started 31 games for the Arkansas Razorbacks. He transferred to LSU, had played in 2 games for the Tigers this season. He's from New Orleans. Well, he underwent surgery to have a tumor removed from his brain on Friday. It's been an emotional week around here. You will see both teams, Arkansas and LSU, wearing a number 3 helmet sticker to honor this young man. And I just spoke with Brian Kelly and Jaden Daniels. They said it's been emotional to see this healthy young man, one of their brothers, in the hospital and struggling and suffering. It has been very emotional this week for the Tigers, but they have dedicated their season to Greg. I know Coach Sam Pittman was trying to make, whatever he could do to see if he could maybe go visit him in the hospital while he's here in Baton Rouge. So we're not sure about that yet. But just a really unique, interesting storyline of a young man who's played for both teams in the hospital, struggling. It's just a unique underlying storyline this weekend.
Well, let's hope for the absolute best, and I know everybody is pulling for him. Thank you for sharing that with us, Holly. Let's talk a little bit about Jaden Daniels for a second, because last year on a cold day in Fayetteville, he struggled against Arkansas. It was a nail-biter down literally to the end. What are you learning about Jaden? And he has bounced back very well after the disappointing opening loss to FSU, but he seems like he is the key. Certainly was last week.
I think Jaden Daniels is light years from the quarterback that he was in that Arkansas game last year. He is seeing the field at a different level. He is commanding this offense at a different level. And I want to say the offense of LSU did struggle in that opening game against Florida State, but I really thought a lot of that was up front. I do think this offensive line looks better. They have improved. Brian Kelly told me today, hey, the head coach had to do a better job of finding out who are the energy givers on offense. And he pointed out their center, Charles Turner, who the very first play of the game last week takes a 3 technique guy and just drives him down the field 10 yards, buries him. So I think you're seeing a nastier, tougher mindset up front, and that is going to help Jaden Daniels. I think this offense is operating at a higher level. He has kind of connected with Malik in a way that is much more dynamic and efficient, and they are getting to be a real duo in the passing game that I think is going to cause problems for Arkansas.
Holly, it's a really critical game for Arkansas after a stinging loss last week. I mean, their schedule is just simply unbelievable with A&M and Alabama and Ole Miss. So, I mean, not that this is an easy win, but what are you hearing from Sam Pittman about this point in the season where they need to turn some things in their favor?
Yeah, we haven't met with Sam Pittman yet. We'll meet with him about 6:30 tonight. But from what I'm reading and the press conferences and everything I'm hearing, this is a do or die game for Arkansas. You know, their schedule is absolutely brutal moving forward. And it's not like playing at LSU in Death Valley is a walk in the park either, but they kind of have a urgency and a need to turn it around right now mentality. I think a lot of people were surprised by that result to BYU and how they played. Talking to the LSU offensive coordinator, Mike Denbrock, and Brian Kelly, they've really been studying what Arkansas will do on defense with this new defensive coordinator, Travis Williams. When he was at UCF, he was very, very exotic. They did a lot on defense. And I thought it was interesting that the LSU offensive staff said they haven't seen much of that in the first 3 weeks. They're wondering if Arkansas is kind of saving all the bells and whistles of their new defense for conference play. So that means LSU's not really sure what they're going to get. Could it be more dramatic, more exotic? Jaden Daniels said they are prepping for that, and they practiced this week with a lot of bells and whistles as if Arkansas is going to really open things up on the defensive side. So I think that's something interesting to keep your eye on of how is Arkansas on defense with this new coordinator. They said they've actually been watching more UCF tape than Arkansas tape, where their coach came from last year. So I think that's one interesting wrinkle to keep your eye on.
Saturday will make this the earliest date that Arkansas and LSU have played in their rivalry for that golden boot. LSU, a nice chunky favorite over the Razorbacks, who are coming off that loss against BYU. Time now to go inside the SEC, presented by Auto Owners Insurance, as we hang out with the coach, Sam Pittman.
28th year coming up of the boot. Okay, the boot is a gold deal. It's worth $10,000. Arkansas has won 9 and lost 18 in the battle. The bottom line is it's going to be a ball game. It's going to be a close ball game. It's going to be a physical-ass football game. And for the team and for the state, that's a big-ass deal. And for you, it's a big deal. And for us as a coaching staff, big, huge deal.
I mean, we know the creator of it.
Yeah, David Bass, our buddy.
Bass, there it is, the boot.
It's like 50 or 90 pounds,
yeah,
something ridiculous.
50 or 90. It could be.
How much is Tuscaloosa?
I don't know. It's sitting with LSU, obviously. Now, Jaden Daniels played terribly last year. KJ Jefferson didn't play at all. But
Can we say the Arkansas defense played well? I mean, why does that have to be Jaden Daniels played poorly?
Well, they won despite him playing poorly. It doesn't tie into where you're going to go, right? Arkansas defense looks better than it did before, but why aren't you a fan here?
They look better. They've decreased the passing yards that they've allowed by almost 100 yards. They were last in the conference last year, up to 7th in the conference now. But I'm not buying it based upon the teams they've played so far. One of the reasons why I may have hope about it is because they've been able to get to the quarterback quite a bit. I think they're 7th nationally when it comes to sacks. But again, the level of competition racks up this week. You're not going to be able to rush the passer the same way. Jaden Daniels is more elusive than any quarterback they've played so far. And this group of wide receivers is by far the best group that they'll face. So I think LSU is going to have some success throwing the football.
Stewie providing me some clarity on the weight of the Golden Boot.
How much?
You said 50 or 90?
Yeah.
200.
Wow.
How about that?
It's a big boot.
It's a Timberland. That's a little bigger than that even. All right. Jaden Daniels, talked about him, how well he's playing. When you watch him play, what jumps out to you?
You know, just his progression, his maturation over the last couple of years, year 2 in Brian Kelly's system, but the way he's even gone from week 1 to week 3. Now, I've never played the quarterback position, but I've been around some really good ones, and they all have some things in common, which is what I see in Jaden.
Breeze and Brady weren't that good.
You know, some good. some decent quarterbacks. You know, some decent, some folks I'm gonna tell my grandkids about. But Jaden Daniels might end up being one of them. Who knows? But if he does, it's gonna be because of a few things. Number one, he plays really, really patient. Now, what do I mean by that? This play from last week against Mississippi State. He has an opportunity here, obviously, to take the cheese, take the candy downfield. He's a quarterback. He wants to make a big play. But if you watch Mississippi State here, what they're doing on defense, they are dropping 8 players in coverage. Let's count them. 1, 2, there you go, 3, 4, 5. You ready? 6, 7, 8. They're dropping 8 players in coverage. Let them go. And so why would he throw the ball downfield? You know what he says? I'm going to wait, I'm going to wait, I'm going to wait. I'm going to be smart. I'm not going to turn the ball over. I'm going to take the easy completion, give the ball to my running back, let him do his thing, and live to fight another down. He's patient. Good quarterbacks are always patient. Next, he deals well under pressure. He knows he's going to face pressure. Jaden Daniels is going to face the pressure, but he's completing 90% of his passes when he's pressured. Take it back a little bit. This thing is moving on me, but it's okay because I'm going to let you see this thing again. Mississippi State's defense here lines up. They're bringing secondary pressure here. They're bringing all these guys. Plus this one right here. Jaden Daniels says, you know what? It's okay. It's okay. I'm good. I'm good. I'm going to buy time because you know what I know? I know I've got one-on-one downfield. The receivers know that too. They break the route off, get the ball at the proper time, and watch how he waits with the defender in his face, about to hit him in the mouth. He takes the hit, delivers the ball on time. Malik Neighbors right near the first down. What are they going to say, CD? They're going to say, get the first down if your quarterback's going to take a hit.
He's coming back to the ball, B-Dub. Come on.
Hey, nobody wants to hear that. Lastly, precision. Quarterbacks play with great accuracy. You've seen this from Jaden Daniels over and over and over again. We'll stop it right there. Beautiful view, isn't it? He knows he has one-on-one coverage on the outside. He's going to throw a touchdown pass to Malik Neighbors, but I want you to see this. He knows that he has a bunch of room out here. He's trying to throw the ball to that back pylon with his best wide receiver who's in the slot, Malik Neighbors. You know what? He watches it. Neighbors runs a great route. He drops the ball in the bucket where, stop it, please, thank you, where only his receiver can get the ball. The defender's not even looking. Touchdown, LSU. Jaden Daniels has taken the next step that all quarterbacks take, and when you watch LSU play, he's a primary reason why they've been so good offensively. He's going to keep on doing the things, not turning the ball over, playing with patience, dealing with the pressure, and also being very precise and accurate in his passes. That's why LSU's offense is looking as good as they're looking.
Coming into the season, these two were the 2 best quarterbacks in this league, most thought, first and second team All-SEC, so on and so forth. All apologies to Dart and Rattler and all the other guys that have played great since the season started.
Saturday slate, look what we have. Hey, Kirk's going to call Arkansas and LSU, and there is a great subplot in that one, and one that has moved everybody to remember the importance of football and the significance of the human beings who play it.
But what about Arkansas, LSU? Can someone at Arkansas step up and help KJ Jefferson? I mean, my dude's putting on a back brace, and it's still not enough. He needs some support from the O-line, from the backs, from the receivers. And let's be honest about LSU. Last week, they came out firing. Malik Neighbors, Jaden Daniels, they were rolling.
Jaden Daniels has a cheat code on the outside, and Malik Neighbors, they had a day last week. Take a look.
So much hype was built into this 2023 season. Daniels on first down. Gonna take a shot to the end zone, and Neighbors comes up with it. Here's Daniels on fourth down. Gonna launch it to the end zone. Neighbors holds it in again. Malik Neighbors, my oh my. How about Jaden Daniels and this Tigers offense roaring?
Ah, yes, Death Valley as the Hogs come a-calling on Saturday night. That is a 6 o'clock kickoff, and it's going to be a good one. It's a unique time at both programs, and they play for the Boot Trophy, my friends. Did y'all know that thing weighs 200 pounds and costs almost as much as RG3's watch, 10 grand. There's been some big games in the history of the battle for the Golden Boot. In 2007, The Razorbacks upset top-ranked LSU in triple overtime behind 206 yards and 3 rushing touchdowns from Darren McFadden. But the Tigers would bounce back to win the national title. Arkansas won again the next year in Little Rock as the Hogs scored the final 17 points, winning on Casey Dick's 24-yard touchdown pass to London Crawford in the final 30 seconds. Both teams were in the top 3 when they met in 2011. Arkansas scored the first 14 points before LSU turned on the gas and rolled 41-17 on its way to the BCS National Championship game. And in 2013, LSU outscored Arkansas 10-0 in the fourth quarter, driving 99 yards in less than 2 minutes to win on Traven Durrell's 49-yard touchdown with just more than a minute left. There have been some great moments in this rivalry, and this one is important. LSU is rolling, and Arkansas is not rolling. Tough loss last weekend to BYU, Paul. How do you define what today is for the Hogs?
Yeah, I hate to hyperbolize, but I will. Must win.
No, you don't. You love it. Do you really?
I tried to warn these guys last week. You have to take care of BYU, and Sam Pittman did not listen to me. So listen to me, Coach, now. You lose this game, and oh my goodness, look what's next. The Aggies, who have seemingly owned you. Yes. Ole Miss after that in Oxford, and I think everybody can figure out the rest at Alabama. The season with a loss tonight will just simply go down the drain.
I'm tossing to
Tell us what you really think, Paul.
Here's what's interesting about this, and it's kind of unfortunate. Like, not enough people are talking about KJ Jefferson. The dude is absolutely balling. He just doesn't have the same weapons around him that he's had last year. Rocket Sanders been banged up. Receiving core is coming along. They're not quite as dynamic. But to me, this LSU game, and I'm picking LSU, but this is important. Last year, they had highs, and then they got blown out by Tennessee. They had highs, and then they scored 13 points against Arkansas. They had highs, and then they lose to 2 touchdowns by A&M. I need to see them sustain that elite talent and elite production on offense, because I picked them to win the West. I still stand by that, but I need to see games like this. They dominate the way they should.
No doubt. I want to see LSU in the consistency, because that is so important.
Yeah.
Can you play at that high level? But with Arkansas, I would love to see a little bit of help for KJ.
I know.
And then also when it gets closer to the end, to just encourage him that he doesn't have to press. Man, he played so well last week.
Yeah.
But in the fourth quarter, you could see him, I'm trying to make it. And sometimes it's like, hey, you need other people to help take some of that weight off of you so you don't feel like you have to press. He has done so much for his team, for the university, and he's just not getting enough help. And so in the end, he's trying to force it to happen, and that's never good when a quarterback does that.
Well, for me, I'm going to go on the other side. I'm taking LSU, and the reason why is, yes, they're explosive offensively, and yes, they lead the SEC in yards per game, but what LSU's doing right is putting Harold Perkins in position to be great. And when you have a superstar on that side of football, these guys are game wreckers. They change plays, and when they make plays, it gets everybody else going. He is the emotion, the heartbeat of that team. And now you understand what the true being of what LSU can be is. That's when Harold Perkins is allowed to unleash the beast and get after the passer. And I'm assuming that he will continue to do that today.
They are a complete team in Baton Rouge, and Sam Pittman knows the importance of this game, as you guys just discussed, and he reminded his young men this week about the value of the opportunity of getting to play it.
Offensive line, tight ends, whomever, you've got to get off on the snap. Defense for you, to me, it would be go in there and love every second of 100 and some thousand people come to watch you. Remember now, there ain't no games where there's just one damn team. Embrace college football, because it's going to be just like last week, it's going to be as its finest. You're going to be a part of it.
You know, Arkansas and LSU square off in the battle for the Golden Boot on ESPN tonight. Over the last couple of years, the transfer portals had an express lane for players going from one side to the other or back in that rivalry. And one of those is Greg Brooks. He was a 3-year starter for Arkansas before transferring to his home state LSU squad in 2022. And before this season, Brooks was named captain of the Bayou Bengals. Brooks had emergency surgery last week to remove a large brain tumor, and LSU will be wearing his number 3 on their headgears, and Arkansas will also put that up there on their helmets too. His impact evident on both his former team and his current one.
Greg Brooks, the game.
we'll have a 3 on the back of our helmet as well as LSU would. They gave us the opportunity to do that. I said absolutely. We would do that for anybody that had that situation, but we certainly would do it for someone that sweated out for the Hogs and someone as wonderful as him.
What a powerful part of it they are. Oh, now BK helped set the foundation here. Off the stream and trying to elevate it. Criticizing their church attendance. Does anyone know if this is true? I mean, it's like he coached at Florida. Oh, tax day, bad air. Ryan Day, I'd say he might be one of the best days.
Let's take a quick swing around campus here. 3 Florida players, offensive lineman Damian George Jr. and Micah Meskua, and tight end Dante Zanders, and Tennessee defensive lineman Omar Norman Lott will miss the first half today for flagrant unsportsmanlike actions at the end of last week's game. If you guys saw those two squaring off, you don't want any piece of those two.
They definitely
Missouri quarterback Brady Cook will start today against Memphis. He was limited in practice this week with a knee injury, and LSU linebacker Omar Spates will miss his second straight game with a hip flexor injury. LSU standout safety Greg Brooks was diagnosed last week with a brain tumor and had successful surgery September 15th to remove the mass. According to LSU head coach Brian Kelly, Brooks, a transfer from Arkansas, felt dizziness prior to last weekend's game against Mississippi State. An MRI was performed which revealed the tumor. Both teams will honor Brooks today with a number 3 decal on their helmets. Kelly made it very clear. Greg Brooks wants to play football again. Here is a statement from Brooks' family. They released this statement Wednesday updating his status. They said, "We are grateful for the work and care of the medical staff helping Greg through these challenges and for the concern and love poured out by so many in the Louisiana, Arkansas, and national sports communities. This means the world to us at this difficult time. Greg continues to fight, and we await further clarity on the extent of that battle." LSU head coach Brian Kelly spoke with our Holly Rowe about Greg.
Coach Kelly, it's a very sobering week for your team, but you're trying to get ready for a game. Tell us how Greg Brooks is doing. I know you've been over to the hospital to see this young man, but dealing with him with the tumor removal, have you managed that?
Well, certainly, our thoughts and prayers are with Greg and the entire family. And, these are the difficult times that we have to deal with at times. And I know our team has dedicated this season to Greg. We're going to wear the number 3 on our helmets. And Arkansas is going to do that as well. As you know, he played at Arkansas as well, and we're so happy that Coach Pittman has been gracious to do that as well. And it'll be a solidarity of support for Greg. And we know that there's a game to be played, and both teams want to win this game. But, there are bigger things, too, and the health and the recovery for Greg is at the forefront of it.
I know you've been able to get to the hospital and see him. How is he doing?
He's a battler. He's a fighter. And, he responds, obviously, very well to loud voices. He's used to being coached. And, a lot of the support staff and coaches been there. His family has been the rock for him there. And, we hope to continue to see improvement. And we're certain that he's going to be back with us soon.
I know it's an emotional flip to switch. You did say it. There's a game to get ready for. How are you navigating this emotional situation with your players?
Yeah, I think it's, like anything else in life, there are things that, place an importance and our thoughts and prayers are with them. But, they'll begin to focus on the football game and know that Greg would want us to do that. That's the kind of competitor he is. And so we'll begin to really focus today on the game itself and competing at the highest level. That's what he would want. And that's the most important thing, is to play at our very best.
To a brand new segment. It's called 3 and Out. The premise is simple. I'm going to ask a question with 4 multiple choice answers in the wall, and one of our esteemed analysts will rank their favorites from 3 to 1 while punting the 4th right on out. So, Beanie, you get the first question here. Which of these 4 teams is in the least danger of an upset this week? So you're going to punt on the one who is on upset alert. We've got Texas and Waco against Baylor, Oklahoma at Cincinnati for its Big 12 debut, LSU hosting rival Arkansas, and North Carolina on the road at Pitt. hit?
I like this Texas football team. I think they're playing some great football. Quinn Ewers, Steve Sarkisian, they're out with something to prove right now that they're finally back, and they're playing Baylor. I think they're the least likely team to be on upset alert.
Okay, so that's number 3. Who is number 2 in that wall, Pete?
The number 2 team, for me, goes to Oklahoma.
Okay.
Oklahoma's a great football team. They're playing Cincinnati, who has a very good quarterback in Emory Jones, can throw the ball around, can spread it out. Oklahoma scores a lot of points, but have they played anybody? That's why they're at my second team.
Okay, how about you, number 1?
My number 1 team, LSU. LSU, obviously, we know the game that they had earlier in the year versus Florida State, how that panned out. We know they want to right the ship to get back into that conference, or to get back in that conversation to be in a college football playoff. But I'll tell you what, Arkansas is a good football team. They got about 10 turnovers and they've got about 12 sacks on the season. So they're a good football team, and Jaden Daniels and that team have to watch out for Arkansas.
So you've obviously punted then on North Carolina.
Yes, indeed. I'm giving them the big old boot. No, not at all. I can barely get my leg up.
Yeah, the North Carolina is the one on the road. Still have some question marks about that defense and how they'll respond. And anytime you take a road trip, all the rest, I feel like you got them right. I don't think Texas is going to lose. Oklahoma coming off a huge win last week. Yeah. Tons of touchdowns all over the place. And LSU, sneaky under the radar contender, especially after losing that first game.
In a fight, someone's going to hit you in the mouth. You're going to get up. In a fight, you're going to hit him in the mouth. Guess what he's going to do? He's going to get up. You got to hit his ass again. Okay? Hey, I'm going to tell you right now, there ain't no way in hell I'd put you in these damn Reds if I thought there was any chance that we weren't going to win. I can promise your ass that. Let's go get us a damn win.
You can take the crowd out of it a little bit if you're Arkansas, and you can do something this opening possession. LSU won the toss deferred, so Nathan Dibert will boot it away. And Isaac Satania, receiver returner, is a dangerous man. He took a punt return back for a touchdown early in last week's loss to BYU. Sit back and enjoy. Nothing like Death Valley on a Saturday night. Satania will hesitate and then take a knee. So here comes KJ Jefferson. Pressure. Escapes and will take off. Ooh, makes a man miss. Look at the big fella in space. Off and rumbling down to the LSU 30. Not just physical, but elusive enough to get past Sam that time.
Movement here, and then you come around, try to get the pressure there with your best pass rusher. Heck of a job of keeping that play alive. A little pump fake, and he's got some shake for a guy that's 245 pounds. What a play.
Pressure again, picked up. Jefferson has time and throws a low pass. Time a four-man rush. The ball is out quickly, and the catch is made by Broden, who's been active early. It's a run all the way around the right edge, and that's easy. Just scoots for about 6 or 7 on 2nd and goal. Flip to the end zone. Catch made right at the goal line by Luke Haas, the tight end.
That you get a chance to slide the tight end out. What an effort there. He just can't quite extend that. Good effort to make the catch, but I love where they brought him from the backside, kind of snuck him back over to the right. Nobody picked him up. LSU very fortunate to keep him out of the end zone.
Little knocks it through, but that's a little bit deflating. It was an excellent drive for the Razorbacks. This neighbor is coming in motion. Keeper, and cuts it back. He eludes the man on the edge and then dives down. Protect yourself, Jaden. Mason Taylor, tight end in the flat. Brought down very nicely there. Nice tackle by Hudson Plusher back, and there's a deep rotation of backs here. Daniels delivers, and it's intercepted. He threw it right into the hands of Dwight McLaughlin. And the former LSU player picks off.
Daniel corner followed him to the outside. And once he goes to the outside, he fools Daniels by coming off of him and jumping the route. Great job of disguising it.
He says, give me the challenge of covering these LSU receivers.
McLaughlin right here shows man-to-man. So Daniels thinks that he's good to go with his tight end. See the tight end route? Now watch the corner come off. Step right in front. Good job of disguising and baiting him into that throw by McLaughlin.
Pop pass. Aaron Anderson, little guy. Ooh, that's a nice open field tackle. Coming up to make the play was Hudson Clark, the safety, getting the start tonight inside the 40 on first down. Pressure is picked up at first, and then they swarm him.
Can do to an offensive line in a communication. Watch the center here, Turner. He gets kind of off balance. And with that movement from his left to the right by a couple of those defensive linemen.
Pitched far side, and the hand catch is made by Armstrong, and he rumbles out across the 40. Jefferson play fake over the middle, and holding on is Tesla. Hogs threatening again. This is KJ keeping it. Oh, just ran right over Major Burns.
These linebackers are really being tested with this system. You get the play fake, and you're trying to impact these guys with running up the middle. Now you move them this way, get them out of position. Now you're able to come back with QB run. So it's keeping them honest is QB run, almost a counter going the other way.
Instead, he's rolling to the right, looking that way, delivers a long throw on the sideline. The catch is made by Armstrong. Did he get the feet down?
You talk about a throw and a great catch. When the official right there able to get a good view of it. That ball was on a line. I thought it might be a little bit late. He holds on to that ball, possesses it, and gets the left foot down. Ball's a little late, but with the arm strength, he's able to make up for it. Was able to get that in there on third down.
You've seen this receiving corps flash their hands as advertised so far. So another chip shot. Arkansas has really controlled this game twice on the doorstep, twice settling for 3.
And defend this run game.
Emery hit behind the line of scrimmage as the Hogs swarm him. Now it's LSU's turn. Pressure comes. Daniels eludes it, but will be knocked down right near the line of scrimmage. Actually a short loss. Wow.
Watch the pressure here on the left side. They overload the left side. They make the back also pick up pressure with a blitz from Thomas. And a great job.
Made him a highly touted player. 3rd and 8. KJ steps up and flips it underneath. The catch is made by Armstrong, and he's got a first down across the 40. Texas A&M Commerce. Jefferson delivers another throw to the sidelines. It was Dubinion. He comes off the edge. They hand it off inside. Dubinion ran right past him and is still bouncing off Bengals. 15-yard gain. Hogs threatening yet again. KJ across the middle, and the catch is made by Armstrong. He's been a problem. Jefferson launching for the end zone. A battle for the football. A flag comes out. Broad caught it. No, they say incomplete. Harris was in coverage. In any case, it's interference in the end zone.
We had pass interference on defense, number 10. It's a 15-yard penalty and an automatic first down.
How about that throw by KJ Jefferson? Man-to-man, puts it out to the edge. There's the pole on the jersey. Does he finish this catch?
Previous plays under further review.
Looks like he's got control of the ball. Let's see where the knees went down. We'll bring in Bill LeMonnier. Tremendous job as he took the hit. Knee goes down, inbounds.
Bill, boy, it looked like he completed the process of the catch there, Bill. What do you think?
Yeah, I've got that left arm in pretty firm control of the ball. He's inbounds. He maintained control as he rolled into the out of the end zone. I've got a touchdown. I think replay should change this.
Bill, interesting with the two officials. The guy who had the better look at it, he initially said touchdown. And a guy that was really far away and behind the play, he waved it off.
Yeah, he was the official that had the pass interference call. Yep. And I don't know if he just lost his concentration on it, but hard for him to see the ball.
Totally.
Mickey Haddock is the replay official for this SEC crew. I meant to look at the strength. This receiving core, they've done this all year. They just battle DBs and win these one-on-ones with great strength.
They got a great strength program. They must be honestly doing a lot of different things with their grip, because these receivers aren't just tall, they're strong. Here he sees he's got one-on-one because the safety's down. Let's just put it up. Let's trust the big fella to go up and make a catch. 6'7", 195.
After further review, the result of the play is a touchdown. The receiver had
How great is that?
the ball with a knee inbounds.
He is fired up, and his team this time reaches the end zone and stretches the lead, a 19-yard scoring.
You're checking on your quarterback. He did take a hit there. What are you seeing from him? He's slicing and dicing right now.
Yeah, he's playing his butt off, just like all our kids are. Unfortunately, we gave him a long touchdown there right before half, but we're playing our tail off. I knew we would, and we're going to the second half, too.
You said to the kids in the locker room, this is going to be a fight out here. You've controlled the first half for the most part, but what fight do they have to have in the second half to finish?
We have to do it again. I mean, we got knocked down there. We got to get up and start throwing again. We came here to win. That's the plan.
Thank you, Coach.
All right.
Quick throw over the middle, and the catch is made by Tesla. He fights for a first down as they overcome that. DeBinion escapes, makes a cut, and moves into LSU territory. He showed some wiggle tonight. Plowing ahead. DeBinion showing great leg drive. See Limmer, one of the top prospects at his position for the draft, according to Mel Kiper. Jefferson zips it, and the catch is made down inside the 20-yard line by on for his third attempt. It's a fake. Bolting up the middle is Max Fletcher. They don't settle for three. Trickery. He came here to win, and it shows.
As soon as they got that, Sam Pittman, like a receiver making a big catch, gives a first down sign. So proud of these guys pulling this off.
Fletcher, the Australian rules football guy. He's tall, gangly dude. 6'5", 174, running right up there in traffic.
Look at Sam Pittman in the background. Excited, a gutsy call, 10-play drive. You're thinking, hey, to respond like that from that touchdown, a heck of a drive, just take some points.
And he knocks it through. So LSU's defense, after just a different level of intensity from this LSU defense. He's serious now. DeBinion. So you say that, and then Hogs push the pile out near the first down marker at the 34.
And that right side with the center.
Jefferson says, forget the pass rush. I'm just going to take off and run on 2nd and 20. And that's a very positive play. Jefferson. Nobody open. Still seeking a receiver. Lobs it downfield. And Haas got behind everybody. The play they needed. Jefferson just extending. And LSU's defensive backs fell asleep. A 59-yard touchdown.
And anytime a quarterback starts to move, you get concerned with the defensive back not plastering and getting his eyes in the backfield. Jefferson buys time. Look at the defensive back right here. He's waiting. He's in a good position. Now his eyes are on the quarterback. Completely loses the tight end sneaking down that right sideline. It's been relatively quiet until these last couple drives. They've been burning their timeouts and pre-snap movement.
2-point play from the 8-yard line now. Jefferson to the end zone. Doesn't matter. It's Haas with the touchdown and the 2-pointer. And we are tied in Death Valley. Watching tonight. Jefferson trying to stay alive in the pocket, flips it to DeBinion, who makes a man miss and scoots for a first down. DeBinion with a straight arm bouncing off Burns.
And 3rd down, near his own end zone. Look at him sit in his pocket. People hitting him on the shoulder pad, and he calmly just finds the check down up against a safety to make him miss for a first down.
Big guy's got it on the edge now. We talked about this being a duel between the two guys who each believe they are the top quarterback this year in the SEC. And they both. Jefferson pressured, climbs the pocket, launches downfield, caught. Touchdown, Andrew Armstrong. And the Hogs leader answers at 37-yard strike. A self-inflicted wound. Sets up, launches downfield, and he's got Has again. And the freshman banging off people. All of a sudden, LSU's lost track of the young tight end.
Yeah, they sure have, and they're going to clear it with these two outside receivers. Watch how they take the defenders with them. See the tight end works to the outside where that man-to-man is taken away. Nobody takes him.
Jefferson flips it open. Has again, waltzes in. The freshman tight end from Oklahoma has made a huge impact. Arkansas's turn to march 75 yards and a PAT away from tying this.
They have answered every single time. Remember we saw Mason Taylor run this before? Now it's Arkansas's chance. Look at that defense. Eyes on the quarterback. Nobody picks the tight end up who moves from his right to the left in the flat. You see it run all over football. In the NFL and college, those tight ends are always open.
KJ Jefferson, 77 touchdown responsible for, ties the school record held by Matt Jones. The touchdown drives, 36-yard gain there. Pop pass. Thomas, who's caught the two long touchdowns, is knocked down after a short gain. A chip shot to all but secure a hard-fought win. No problem. Credit Daniels and this offense. A 72-yard drive in 9 plays. Very importantly, they used 5 minutes of the clock and set up the chip shot. What a performance by Daniels tonight.
Good snap, good hold. Pressure doesn't get to the three of them. Ramos puts it through. What a hard-fought game. You know, you get into conference play, it hits differently. It's a battle. You know, Arkansas put everything into this game.
All right, Doring, Watson, Noka, so much to get to. We go into the night thinking we're going to lead with a certain game. And then something happens and we lead with a different game. The battle for the boot residing in Baton Rouge. The question is, would it stay there? Tigers a big old favorite, about 17 over the Hogs. But Arkansas, look at that defense holding the Tigers to a field goal. And then offensively, KJ Jefferson, touchdown pass to Tyrone Broden. Initially called incomplete, but correctly overturned.
Got a guy draped all over him, man. Comes down with it despite the pass interference. And right now, you felt like everything was going Arkansas's way in the first half.
Really was. 13-3 late first half, but then LSU gets the ball. One more shot before halftime, and they go 3 plays and 75 yards, and Brian Thomas had 2 big catches, including this one for 6.
Yeah, Brian Thomas is all over the place. Last week was Malik Neighbors, and he's going to get a part of this as well. But LSU started off kind of slow. They have 2 punts and an interception, and then they go on scoring drive after scoring drive throughout the rest of this game.
Third quarter, free play.
Yeah.
Daniels, Thomas.
Had a beat by 5 yards.
You remember the drop against Florida State? I think a lot of people remember what could have happened had he caught the ball. Since then, Brian Thomas Jr. has bounced back. He's been tremendous since then. Tonight, goes over 100 yards, has 2 touchdown catches himself.
133 for him. And then Malik Neighbors goes for 8 catches, 130, and also 2 scores.
Was he getting the gap there? Was that what we're doing?
Was that what that was? Was he milking
brought it back?
Was he milking a cow? I was not exactly sure what that was.
I don't think he was milking a cow.
Do you milk a tusk? I don't think so.
How about the pocket awareness from KJ tonight? Time and time again, stepped up, felt the pressure. This time finding his freshman tight end for the touch.
Luke Haas.
A great.
And this was a broken play. If you see the wide angle, Luke Haas sees his quarterback scrambling and has the wherewithal to turn it upfield.
That's what you got to do, right?
Yes,
yeah,
indeed.
you want the ball.
That's
right. Daniels throws. Neighbors
Slot
what a
fade.
catch.
How good was that route by Malik Neighbors, running the slot fade from the inside, stumped the defender and slipped by
But
him.
Arkansas comes back. It's Haas again. A great Bixby Spartan.
They don't
Luke
cover
Haas.
They don't. They just don't see him, I guess. I don't know, but KJ does a good job of giving them the ball.
But the counter punch to the punch, right? Jefferson throws for 289 and 3 scores. Did throw 2 interceptions, but Daniels, boom, Neighbors. Daniels, 320 yards, 4 scores. and 7 years ago, and 1 interception.
He went Abe Lincoln too.
That's right. And then they tick the clock all the way down, set up a game-winning chip shot. It is good. LSU escapes. It was anything but easy, but Jaden Daniels and company, they get that boot again.
It's a tie ball game with not long left in the game. How did you come out and have the composure on that last drive to make sure you went off winners?
I mean, I'm the same when at the beginning of the game, at the end of the game. I'm always the same person. So, it's nothing, stay even killed. Don't ever let the moment get too big for you.
How do you describe your defensive front, the pressure they put on, the toughness they showed?
They did a hell of a job. Like I said, we got the best D-line in the SEC. So, I'll go to war with my guys any day.
All right, what do you think about this big boot behind you?
It's staying home. It's staying home.
Give credit to Arkansas. This is a rivalry game. We knew that. They played great. KJ Jefferson is just so difficult to defend. I mean, he keeps plays alive, hard to bring down, and it was what we expected tonight.
But we've got a good football team. We got a lot to work on. But I like this team. I think they fight, and I'm proud of their effort. None of us are happy with the result.
No, that's a tough one. And that game means so much to Arkansas. We know that. But in the end, LSU gets the win. A second loss would have been devastating for a team that's got national championship hopes. In the end, for LSU, what was the difference?
Well, it was a war of attrition, and it was a back-and-forth battle. In the very end, they go on a 9-play, 72-yard drive led by Jaden Daniels. They kick a go-ahead field goal to win, and that's sometimes, CD, how it goes in these back-and-forth type battles. You saw some tremendous performances, I thought, from the quarterbacks, KJ Jefferson as well as Jaden Daniels. Those receivers were making plays, but also I think this D-line that we've talked about a lot for LSU with Mason Smith and Jefferson. Their presence was felt throughout the game on KJ Jefferson as he tried to maneuver throughout the pocket and make plays. They were able to get some pressure on him that helped their defense tremendously.
Yeah, going back to the quarterback play, I really kind of been down on KJ Jefferson a little bit. The interception he threw last week against BYU was really hurtful to them. I thought he played a great game tonight and did what his team needed him to do. But Jaden Daniels, to me, that was the story. In the first half, I thought the Arkansas defense did a lot to confuse him. Didn't play real well, and then that drive that culminated with the Brian Thomas Jr. touchdown right before half was huge. They get the score there, and then they score 4 straight possessions in the second half, 3 of those touchdowns, and then the field goal to win it at the end. Jaden was able to find get that chemistry going with his wide receivers. I think this LSU group of receivers is undervalued tonight. 2 of them go over 100. And account for 4 receiving touchdowns between Neighbors and Thomas. It was a nice performance.
I feel like they've gotten a lot of love. You don't think so?
You think it's just Neighbors? I was down on them early in the season because Lacey had the drop against Florida State. Brian Thomas had the drop. So those guys had a lot of potential. They didn't have the chemistry that I think they developed from that Grambling game on.
Well, it just seems like, even last year when we talk about this LSU football team, that first game against Florida State, it was kind of the same thing this year where they kind of struggled. They seemed to be out of sync. Receivers were dropping passes. It seemed like Jaden Daniels wasn't quite getting the ball where it needed to be. But you've seen their continual improvement. I think even last week in that game, seeing how Jaden Daniels was recognizing the coverage. He was very precise with his throws. He was patient, taking what was given to him. You saw a couple of times in this game where he took a crossing route instead of going deep. All those sorts of things start to add up, and they're putting it together.
Yeah. I'd be remiss not to mention Logan Diggs as well. He goes for 7 yards a carry, gets them right to the century mark almost, and had some big runs down there at the end to be able to get him in position to kick the field goal to win.
We give a lot of credit to Arkansas, and they should have a lot of credit. And I know you opinion kind of changed a little bit on KJ over the course of that game. But if we're looking at LSU and we're saying SEC championship, college football playoff potentially, are we concerned about the secondary? Are we concerned about the big plays against them?
You got to be concerned about it, right? I mean, that was what took them down against Florida State. And tonight they gave up some big pass plays. So they're going to be tested as the SEC schedule continues. But the best way to negate issues in the secondary is with pass rush. And you talked about what the D-line did tonight.